Hello and welcome to Doc to Me. My name is Heather.
And I'm Kathleen.
And my mom gave me COVID because of course it wasn't just allergies. So that's why we've been gone.
For so long.
And this week we are covering something I completely stumbled on. The parachute murder plot. So at first I thought this was the well-known parachute murder that happened in Belgium. Remember it was that love triangle? Or I think it was a woman that
Sabotage the...
Yeah. But no, this has apparently happened more than once.
Which seems like such a, risky way to try and off someone.
Yeah.
But also, I just think of, that one video where, the two parachuters, run into each other. Oh,
the one I ruined for you.
Yeah. That man lost his legs and killed someone.
And they're like, well, obviously something happened to Jose. He's not here in the interview. God, yeah.
Yeah, no. And I was like,
oh,
God, he died.
Well, I also kept thinking about King of the Hill. Did you ever watch that show?
I've seen, a lot of episodes, but I don't think I've seen one about parachuting, so...
Yes. Peggy jumps out and her parachute messes up and she lands. And it was a two-parter episode, but the end of the first one, it was her just flying through the air and, Free Falling by Tom Petty playing.
Oh, God. That seems fitting.
Because the way she slams into the ground is basically what happened to this woman.
Oof.
So
basically my worst nightmare.
We watched this on Discovery Plus, so I'm not sure if it was on one of their channels or not. It was...
Probably so. It's definitely...
It's very British.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I found it because I felt it was way funnier than
it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Because clearly it's terrible what happened to this woman, but the perpetrator is possibly one of the dumbest
criminals in the history of the world.
Yes.
Quite honestly. Just
so cocky and we'll get to that.
It's like the paper trails.
And I also got some other information from a Guardian article titled, "He Has the Traits of a Psychopath, the Inside Story of the Parachute Murder Plot." So let's just get into it. We start off Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2015. Mother of two, Victoria Sealiers, or Vicky. Every article says Vicky, but in here they specifically say Victoria.
Yeah.
Don't want to humanize her, I guess. She's taken her 2,655th parachute jump.
Which is just mind-blowing because,
how do you have the time?
Especially as a mother of two, but also, that shit costs money, okay?
That's what I thought.
Every jump costs money. You gotta take a whole goddamn plane up.
Yeah. Well, don't you also have to have training?
Yeah.
Just to initially start?
Yeah. I know someone who's done it, and, you have to pay for every time you go up. So, yeah. Not really a hobby that I would have as a mother of two.
So, she's taken her jump, and both of her chutes fail to deploy properly, and she falls like a rag doll 4,000 feet, or 1,200 meters, at 60 miles per hour, smashing into a newly plowed field.
Which apparently is very lucky for her because that
it helps
basically
soften the blow.
Saved her life.
Yeah.
Because you expect her to be dead.
But that's what happened to Peggy, too. She fell on that soft ground. So everyone is so sure...
factory.
Everyone is so sure she's dead that they bring a body bag over, but she is surprisingly still alive. Not in great condition, though.
No, there was a lot of fucking broken bones.
Yeah, she's got broken pelvis and ribs. She fractured her spine in 4 places and has a collapsed lung, but she's still alive. It's amazing.
Is a miracle.
Yes. So it's a terrible ending to a day that was supposed to be this terrific gift from her husband, Emil. This was her... Okay, here's what I have a problem with. It's her first jump in over a year because she had just given birth 5 weeks earlier to her second child.
Which I don't think my doctor even cleared me to have sex
before 6 until 6 weeks. But she's jumping out of a plane?
Yeah. I feel like my OBGYN would have been like, we're not okay with, like, you sticking anything inside your vagina, but, like, sure, go
This
ahead and jump out of an
clearly
airplane and
was
get
not-
jostled.
Clearly not a C-section, because there's no way.
Like, I was still having blood and shit coming out of me at 6 weeks. Or, yeah, like, it seems so soon.
Yeah.
But, I mean, good for her.
It's the second child. You know, you're in and out at that point.
God, my second one I feel like was more of a recovery because I had the other one to take care of.
The second one, I was in my 30s, so yeah, it was much harder.
Oof, yeah.
So, total badass that she's just jumping out of a plane after 5 weeks. So a fellow parachutist, James Rankin, jumped with Vicky that day and went before her. So he deployed his chute with no problems, and he can just look up and see her jumping out.
And then he's like, oh, shit.
He sees her jump, pull her chute. There's a malfunction, so she cuts away the chute, and then pulls the reserve, which also malfunctions.
Which, what are the chances?
I'll get into that. She ends up in such a fast spin, hurling towards Earth, that her legs almost lift up the same height as her head.
I would not be surprised if she didn't, like, pass out.
And yeah, she even talks about later on, she's not sure if she knows she blacked out. She's not sure if it's from the force of falling or actually hitting the ground when she blacked out.
Let's hope it was the force of falling.
Yeah. So James is like, that has to be terrifying to see this woman flying by.
Yeah, like,
and not being
hurling
able to do
past
anything.
you,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh,
He's watching
shit.
her struggle to gain control, and then she just flies right by him. So yeah, and it's traumatizing to the point that this is the first time he's talking about his experience.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's not something that you want to see, because I imagine they've gone on a lot of jumps together and formed a relationship.
Yeah, because I don't know how many people there could possibly be that are in this
little gang jumping out of airplanes together. Yeah. It's a tight-knit group, I'm sure.
I've only met one person who has done it, so
it's a tight-knit group.
So first off, how common are parachuting accidents? Obviously they happen, but to what extent with both chutes failing? The British Parachute Association, or the BPA, is the sport's national governing body, estimates there were 2.3 million sports jumps in the 10 years before Easter 2015. Of those, there were 2,900 cases where the reserve parachute had to be deployed, and not a single accident where there was a problem with the reserve.
So basically, it doesn't fucking happen.
According to the BPA, the only known instance of both a main and reserve failing to operate was in the case of Stephen Hilder. His case is also weird. It was ruled a suicide, and his friends and family obviously questioned that and believe he was murdered. So if you're going to commit suicide, though, like, why bother even try to pull any of the parachutes?
Yeah,
That
just jump
case
out
is
of the
weird,
plane
yeah.
and just let it happen.
But his case will be brought up later as to what might have happened to her.
Do-do-do.
So at first it's just assumed to be a weird, crazy accident until the company running the jump is checking out her parachutes and notices a couple of things wrong and decides to just be on the safe side and inform the Wiltshire police. So literally, if one guy named Mark Bayata hadn't called the cops,
nothing would have come of
a
it.
Freak accident.
Just until the next thing.
Yeah. And apparently the parachute club recorded their inspection of the parachutes to give to the police. I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
The police send the parachutes off to be inspected with the BPA, and they have no leads until 5 days later when a close friend of Vicky's calls DC Maddie Henna, who I guess is the lead investigator. And this friend has some interesting news. Vicky wasn't in a great marriage.
You don't say.
So, great friend. Must have watched a lot of Dateline. Her friend is almost killed in a freak accident, and her husband is a scumbag, so it must be attempted murder. Better call the cops.
I would do the same.
We get into the couple's life stories a little bit. Emil Sealers is South African born and joins the British Army in 2004. And in 2010, he meets Vicky, who is working in the Army as a physiotherapist. They both shared a passion for skydiving, and their relationship blossomed so quickly they got married in 2011.
That's very sudden.
I know you shouldn't judge relationships, but that's pretty quick.
It is hard to know for sure that you don't hate someone in that amount of time. So
yeah.
I've like 10 years with my husband, and I still have moments where I'm just like, who the fuck are you?
Like, you gotta live with somebody for a while before.
Yeah, you need to like listen to them chew a lot. Just like sleeping, and just like when they're sick, and you know, there's a lot of stuff to get through.
If they at least rinse a dish off before they set it in the sink.
Don't start anything right now, Heather.
So 4 weeks after the jump, Vicky is still trying to recover from her injuries when the results of the BPA report come in, and they find no mechanical reason for the parachutes failing. So it's either been tampered by Vicky herself,
which, why the fuck?
or a third party. So obviously a criminal investigation is officially open. The cops talk about how with the main parachute, the lines were wrapped around the chute so it couldn't fully open. I guess they're supposed to be like neatly tucked under the folded parachute.
I do not. Really... Is it like folding a fitted sheet, kind of like?
And then having the lines under it.
Yeah.
Instead, it was just they had it and just wrapped it around it. So of course it's not going to be able to open.
Yeah, it's going to get all knotted and shit.
Yeah. They don't really explain it that well. They just quickly mention that part.
I've never jumped out of an airplane.
Reserve chute, I didn't understand at all. I don't know. There's technical parts apparently.
Can you get a backup to your backup? That's all I want to know.
I understood that parts on the reserve parachute were missing that were supposed to be there. And there weren't like rip marks or burn marks, evidence of it just naturally occurring. It was obvious to them that it was like cut or taken something.
Yeah, it's very suspicious.
Just parts that were supposed to be there were gone. Regardless, the parachutes need to be inspected before every jump, and this gear just happened to be given the all clear by Vicky's husband, Emil.
Which, again, worst criminal ever.
So DC Henna brings in Emil for questioning because clearly this dude done fucked up. And he's so fucking weird and suspicious.
He's the worst.
He doesn't want to talk at first because he's upset they arrested him in front of his subordinates. Which, oh, boo-hoo.
They're not going to respect him, Heather. It's a big deal.
The police believe someone tried to murder your wife, and that's what you're upset about. The first interview lasts about 6 hours, and once he starts to open up, it's very clear this dude is a total douche. He's asked about his relationship with his wife, and his response is, "It's not a marriage that I would want to be in anymore. I can't see myself being in the marriage in 10, 15 years' time."
Which is not something to say when your wife almost died jumping out of an airplane.
And you're suspected. Like, it's so stupid.
That's a moment where you're just like, I love my wife, and I'm so glad she survived, and I can't believe this happened. Oh my God.
Well, first off, maybe don't marry someone after a year. And second, you're being questioned by police over the attempted murder of your wife. Just shut up. You're better off just asking for a lawyer. Like, that's the wrong answer. Also, he's upset because they don't have sex more than twice a week. When she just had a baby.
5 weeks ago, literally 5 weeks ago, she pushed a fucking small human out of her vagina.
And the other kid's not that much older, so she's a little busy.
Like, maybe don't knock her up if you want to bang.
And then he just openly talks about cheating on his wife.
Which, again, pretty suspicious.
And I love that the other cop makes it very clear that no one even asked him about any of it. He just, freely shares that he's having affairs.
Like, that's something you have to, like, dig for in most cases. But he's just like, hey, I got this side chick.
I've never, all the Dateline, any of those shows, I've never seen them just, like, freely give that. No. Without anybody asking.
No. Like, they're just like, sir, we didn't ask you about that.
Yeah. And that's when I first started laughing, because it's fucking insane how he's just, like, so cavalier about, yeah, I don't want to be married to her, and I'm cheating on her all the time, and it's just insane.
And, you know, it's cool that she just had my baby 5 weeks ago, but, you know,
And the
I've been
cops
sticking in this other
they
lady.
had no case until he just, like, he might as well have said, yeah, I did arrest me. So,
I don't think he's ever heard of a divorce.
I just don't know if he thinks he's bulletproof or if he's just really this cocky and stupid.
I think he's just that stupid.
He just, doesn't protest his innocence, just gives them more and more evidence and an
Against
obvious
him, yeah.
motive.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't want to be married to her. I've been fucking these other people. Yeah, I did it.
Well, he doesn't even say he did it, and there's no straight up physical evidence, so he's given bail. But he's obviously not allowed to return to his home with Vicky and their kids, because no shit.
And she's just like freaking out because she's like, she doesn't believe that he's trying to kill her.
Well, and
she's got a 5-week-old.
She's also stuck in a body brace. Like,
yeah,
she can't do anything.
She's got a brand new baby, and she's like completely immobilized, laid up, like fucking just her whole body's busted.
And you know how it is after you have a kid. Like, there's a couple months where you're just, your hormones are insane, and
oh god, I used to sweat like a pig. Just fucking
just cry over everything.
Oh yeah, just like, god, it's the fucking worst. I don't recommend it, but I mean, they're cute, don't get me wrong, but at what cost?
So yeah, she's stuck in a body brace with 2 very small children. Her husband isn't around to help, so she has to have her parents come down to help. And Vicky doesn't believe, she doesn't believe Emil is any danger to herself. She truly believes he's innocent, and so she doesn't really want to cooperate.
Yeah, she's just like, I know, we're totally happy and in love, and it's like, no big deal. It was an accident. And yeah, just like, let him come back.
The cops kind of have to tell her the truth, so they pop by to tell her about the cheating, that he has a serious girlfriend, he has no intention of staying in the marriage, and he's denying being the father of the youngest child.
She's just like,
fucking asshole. So she snaps out of it long enough to drop a bombshell. There was a gas leak in the house 6 days before her fall. Emil had been away at the barracks, and she woke up in the morning and smelled gas. She texted him about it, and his response is, "That's weird. Is the stove working?" Emil's right. That is weird.
I once had a strange smell in my house while my husband was working nights, and he was obviously gone and could not, rush back home. And I was like, oh, there's like a really weird, like, burny smell in my home and blah, blah, blah. And I'm freaking out. And his recommendation was that I should call the fire department to come to my house and check it out. And if not, I should just take my children and get in the car and leave for a little while until he could come home.
Maybe open a window.
Yeah. He wasn't just like, oh, that's weird. Like, okay, whatever. No, he was like, get out of the house.
So she checks the pipe, find it's been tampered with, and there's blood. Also want to mention she's home with the kids.
Yeah, which is another thing. Like, he was totally okay with just murdering his children. Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to try to kill your spouse, but just having no problem with the kids dying is...
And it's not... And they're, like, small children. He's like a brand new baby.
But again, I had to laugh because this guy seriously tried to kill his wife twice in less than a week.
Yeah, you gotta fucking wait that shit out. Like, you don't do it so soon. Like... You need, like, a buffer period where you're, like, a happy, loving husband.
So the cops take the pipes and send those off for inspection. This case might have gone a little faster, except it's being worked by 3 officers, basically because she didn't die. So it's not a high-priority case.
Yeah, she didn't die, and so it's just kind of put on the back burner.
Really
so they're working. Yeah, they're like...
Shouldn't you be trying to prevent a murder?
They don't have the manpower for that, okay, Heather? Like, just, this is just like...
I just felt like that'd be less paperwork.
In their off hours.
To not have an actual murder victim. But, I'm just a dumb stay-at-home mom. I don't know. And for these 3 officers, this case isn't even their top priority.
No, they're just, like, doing it in between all their other day-to-day shit.
It's so insane. But they do look into Emil's past, and it's just more notches on the scorecard of this dude being a total piece of shit.
He really is.
Nicolene Shepard grew up with Emil in Ermelo, a small town east of Johannesburg, and was his on-again, off-again girlfriend for like 10 years.
Which is a long relationship.
They started going out when she was 13, and he was either 16 or 17.
Which, ew.
Yeah, gross. The documentary said 16, the Guardian article said 17. Either way, fucking gross.
Yeah, just like at that point, it's just, I mean, like
if they
it's
were
not
here,
a huge...
she would be in middle school, and he'd be like a sophomore, junior. Like
he'd be almost done with high school.
It's gross.
It's just, it's not, like, you don't think, like, when you're like 30 and 33, it's not a big deal because it's like, oh, what's like 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a huge age gap. But when you're like a teenager and you're like she literally just became a teenager.
Yeah.
That's like a huge fucking gap.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a whole nother world of gap. Like, just ew.
Yeah. So she said he worked for his father's construction company and basically was never told no growing up, which might explain some of the behavior.
Yeah, I can see it.
When Nicolene was 16 in 2000, she gave birth to their daughter and became pregnant 6 months later with their son.
Which, oof, that's sudden.
While she was pregnant with the son, Emil left South Africa to look for work in England and promised to come back, but instead he met another woman and joined the army.
Yeah, he basically just like left her
Bye.
with their 2 children and was just like, hey, I'm not coming back. Sorry, bye.
You say that, but he didn't tell her. He had his mom tell her.
Which is just like... Could you imagine being his
so
mother?
Like, that's worse than just like texting her.
You can't text message
there
breakup.
wasn't text message back then though either. Yeah, what a piece of shit. They interview his eldest daughter, who's fucking gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And they also show home movies of her and her dad, and holy shit, the size of that Teletubby cake. Did you notice it? It was bigger than her. I think it was like her first birthday, second birthday. The thing was huge.
I did not go that overboard for her first birthday, but...
I just had to pause it. I was like, oh my god, that's the cake. Like, you know how big like a 1-year-old is? The cake was bigger.
It was a huge party, Heather. They had a lot of people to feed.
But the tapes are interesting because you see him being this great dad and he loves his kid, but just has no problem abandoning him.
Yeah, he literally just like leaves,
like he gets
and
bored
doesn't
and
come
moves
back,
on.
and he doesn't even tell her.
No.
He's just like, he spent 10 fucking years with her and had 2 kids, and he just like leaves and doesn't say anything.
Not 10 years because we'll get into it later, but they end up meeting again and just like pick up the relationship.
Which, shame on her. Like, fool me once, like, shame on me. You know, fool me twice.
People like that are just so charismatic, and I mean, he does it to several women. So he marries this new woman, Carly, and has 2 children with her. I didn't find that much information about this relationship, probably because she didn't want to be interviewed. Nicolene moves to the UK in 2004 and had no intention of contacting Emil until her daughter started asking about her dad in 2006. So Nicolene meets up with him and they begin a relationship again. And he tells her he only married Carly because his visa was running out and he was in the middle of divorcing her. Until he leaves his phone at Nicolene's one day and Carly calls and Nicolene answers.
Oh, shit.
So, after talking, the 2 women decide to both leave him. And then he eventually meets Vicky. So he's just done with one relationship. Okay, I got caught. I'll move on. No problem.
Which is mind-blowing because, like, I couldn't imagine being with a man who had that many children with other women and, like, wasn't a part of their lives.
I don't think he's
on
telling
a day-to-day.
any of these.
But, like, for fuck's sake, you can't look into that shit? Like, you gotta get it together. Like, you gotta be doing background checks on these people. Like, you cannot be, like... You just can't. You just can't.
I know. Alright, so Nicolene still doesn't completely stay away, which I can kind of understand. She's got kids with him. He was the first guy she was physical with. Like,
It's just sad.
as a teenager, like, it's hard to get over that first love. Especially if you had kids with them. And he's so good.
Fuck him.
So good at twisting women around his finger, so.
Yeah, which is amazing because he's not even that good looking,
it's
at
so
all.
Weird.
He's like a little short, bald man.
But he's good at love bombing these women, and it works on him. So when Vicky has her accident, he's also sleeping with his girlfriend, Nicolene, visiting a swingers club, and messaging sex workers. Like,
I liked when she like pulls up and she's like, "So this is what a swingers place."
Yeah. Like, I don't understand how he has the time.
Fuck no.
It is just, he's literally telling Vicky about how he can grab something at the store for her, and at the same time, he's messaging a sex worker for a meetup. Like, it's crazy.
Like, have you ever like text the wrong person when you're like
how did he
talking about
never
someone
do
else?
this?
Yeah.
How did he not do this?
Because I've definitely done that where I'm talking about someone and I text the person I'm talking about, and then I'm just like, fuck. Like, how did he not be like, oh yeah, the wife's away, like,
yeah.
And then she's like, but I'm the wife, like, what the hell?
He'd probably talk his way out of it. The cops bring him in again for more questions, and he is just the biggest fucking asshole. He acts like this is just an inconvenience. DC Henna says, you went to get Victoria a parachute? And Emil says, yes. Tell me about the checks you did. It's just standard checks as you should do as a parachutist. Okay, well, tell me what those standard checks are. I don't know. I don't parachute. And he just goes, I'm sure you could investigate and ask the right questions to the right people in regards to checking the parachute.
Okay, but I'm asking you, dumbass.
Somebody tried to kill your wife. Why are you getting attitude?
Because he doesn't want to be with her, Heather.
Just act concerned. Just help a little. Try to throw them off of you.
He's just not a very good killer.
So they get some information about his current girlfriend he has on the side, who he apparently had the time to exchange 32,000 messages with.
It's exhausting.
Over 5 months. That's insane. Stephanie Goller, who he had met 5 months before Vicky's accident. She was an Austrian skydiving instructor he met on Tinder while abroad on an army skiing trip. So while he's supposed to, like, be working, he's still
fucking hooking up with bitches.
5 months with this woman, and he's ready to leave his wife for her.
And they have 2 kids.
Except during the interview, he's all sad and grumpy and moping under a blanket because Stephanie broke it off.
Aww.
Doesn't care about his wife at all, but he's upset about this breakup. So he shows more emotion about that than his wife almost dying. Fucking psycho. But looking over his text messages, it's very clear that in January he was telling Stephanie he'd be able to enjoy a more open relationship with her after April.
Which is...
the month Vicky almost died twice.
Very convenient.
Yeah, so clear evidence he had been planning on this for at least a few months. But he couldn't have been all that serious with Stephanie because during the time he is also constantly meeting with escorts and visiting your favorite part, seedy sex clubs in Salisbury. So the investigator reporter for this documentary decides to visit a former swingers club. Not sure why they say formers because it's still clearly set up as a swingers club. So unless it was closed down the previous week or something.
Maybe he just likes to keep the decor in case people want to stop by.
That guy was fun. I loved him. There's still pictures of naked women up and a glory hole wall, which I definitely question because why were the holes so close together? It's not
a bonding experience,
It is not
Heather.
whack-a-mole with your dick.
They
don't need to be that close.
It is a bonding experience. It's for the closeness of the community.
But I just love the glory holes have a sign that reads, Donkey Dick's Glory Hole Wall. Like, it's so absurd, this whole place.
I like how she's just like, so you put your...
Yeah, when he was like, you just stick your willy in the hole. It's a bit of fun.
You don't know what's on the other side. That's the idea.
And he's like, well, yeah, I know.
Just
the woman's questioning it because he goes, yeah, this is where Emil was. This was his favorite spot. And she's like, but you don't know who's on the other side. Well, yeah.
That's the fun of it. It's like a truck stop bathroom.
You just stick your willy in the hole. So Emil was eventually asked to leave for being aggressive and staring too much.
Which is a fucking
You gotta be a
swingers.
total piece of shit to be kicked out of a swingers club, because there's not a lot of rules.
It's basically like, you know, have permission and like...
But this guy makes it sound like Emil showed up on his own. Are you supposed to bring a partner?
I always thought that was like a thing. I thought that you had to have a partner to go to a swingers club. Like,
is he just bringing sex workers?
because
or...
otherwise a bunch of fucking like solo dudes are gonna
Yeah.
show up, and then there's gonna be like 2 women and 16 guys. And no one wants that.
No, you
too
usually
many dicks.
have to pay for that. 5 months after the fall, police still don't have much concrete evidence until forensics come back with some information on the gas pipe. First, it was Emil's blood.
Shock and awe.
And second, there's tool marks left on the nut that show it was a tool that they had owned, and the nut was loosened, not tightened. So obvious, trying to cause a gas leak. So let's bring the fuckface in for a third interview, and again he acts like a total prick. So the cops were like, "When was the last time you used your pliers?" And he goes, "I can't remember." And they asked, "Well, what did you use them for?"
He's like, well, if I can't remember when I used them last, why would I remember what I used them on?
You've just asked me when was the last time I used it, and now you're asking what for. And when I say I can't remember what I last used them, how can I remember what I used them for? Snippy. Like, I feel like you're not going to use pliers that often. If you don't remember the last time you used them, you could probably guess what you use them for.
Yeah, just like, I mean, I was loosening something.
I could tell you I used them to, like, tighten the nuts on these chairs. I don't know when I did it. It could have been like 2 or 3, 4 months ago, but I know I did that. Like, that's not difficult. And they hadn't even lived in the house for that long, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, I figured that would be an easy answer. They asked him about the text messages to Stephanie and why he said he would be more open and spontaneous in April. And his response is, "I don't know, but I'm sure you'll tell me."
The fuck, man? The fuck?
Cops love when you're super sarcastic. But it takes 17 months for the Crown Prosecution Service to finally agree the police have enough evidence to charge him with 2 counts of attempted murder. That seems like such a long time.
That newborn baby is now a fucking toddler.
Like, I get it's not straight up confession, but there's so many of these little pieces. Like, I feel like here, that would be a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a lot of, like how many coincidences can you have before it's a fucking homicide?
Yeah. Like, nobody saw Scott Peterson kill Lacey, but they were still able to convict him. There was enough small little pieces.
Yeah, it's a lot of circumstantial evidence that piles on and makes it fucking murder.
Yeah. But I don't know how it works over there. And just the fact he doesn't even deny it. Not once has he denied it.
Or that he's just, like, you know, committed to her in any way.
Yeah. So, yeah, you think the gas leak alone, you could charge him, like, 2 more times for putting the kids in danger, but I don't know. I don't know how it works there. During the trial, they present not only that he was having all of these affairs, but he was also heavily in debt, and Vicky had a pretty decent life insurance policy, because, of course.
Yeah, just what's murder without money?
So we know he fucked with her parachute, but when would he have been able to do it? The jump was originally planned for that Saturday. Emil offered to get Vicky's parachute for her, and then disappeared into the bathroom for either 5 or 10 minutes. There's kind of a disagreement on there. When Vicky had that moment of clarity and told the police about the gas leak, she also mentioned the 10 minutes in the bathroom. Later, she'll say it was 5 minutes, and she only said 10 minutes because she was mad at him for the affairs. That doesn't make sense, but whatever.
Like, I'm gonna add more time that he fucked around in the bathroom.
Show him. Emil says he was only in the bathroom because his daughter needed to use it, and of course, he's such a great dad, he took her. And naturally, he took the cumbersome parachute into the small bathroom because he didn't want to leave it unattended, even though everybody else did that.
Yeah, like, okay, you're gonna carry it around with you.
Into a tiny bathroom with a small child? Yeah, no.
It's hard enough fitting an adult and a small child in a stall in a bathroom.
You have to, like, hold them while you're going to the bathroom.
No.
Try to shimmy to put them down. Yeah, it doesn't work. So once they decided the weather was too bad for anyone to jump, Emil didn't return the parachute kit to the storage like everyone else did. He stashed it in Vicky's locker, which not at all suspicious.
No.
Put it here where nobody else can touch it.
Yeah, I don't want to accidentally have someone else die.
Oh, that'd be insane. So the next day the weather was still bad with cloud coverage, but by 4 p.m. everyone decided to just do a low altitude jump. So with this whole story, we learned that Emil had a whole night to think about how he fucked with her parachute.
And still went through with it.
Yeah. And not only that, he and the 2 children were present when she jumped.
Which is just
He stood there with their 2 kids knowing she's probably going to die. That's so evil.
Horrifying. Watch mommy fall from the airplane.
Yeah. So prosecution shows how easy it would be for someone to fuck with a parachute in the bathroom stall in 5 minutes. And then Vicky gets on the stand and refuses to testify against her husband.
Which is just
insane.
She's in absolute denial.
Not only that, she says there was nothing wrong with her parachute.
Okay.
She said she
just fell.
She said she cut a good parachute. I don't get it. So, yeah, she just acts like, what the fuck are all these other people looking at? They don't understand I'm just making all this up. None of this is real. And she was the one who messed with the gas pipe. She was just trying to get back at Emil. It doesn't explain the text messages between them about, the gas leak, but whatever. Her testimony just shows, how damaged she is by him. It's Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, he's completely, warped her brain.
And at the end of the trial, the jury can't reach an agreement. But at least the police decide to retry him. This time, since they know they don't have Vicky on their side, they just straight up show the jury all of the text messages.
Of him basically saying, I'm going to be free of my wife.
I don't give a shit about this woman. I'm going to text all these other women. It had to be a tough decision because then you're basically attacking the victim in this by letting her read all these messages. That's hard. And then the internet search he made before Vicky's jump, Wet Nurse UK. Because they have a 5-week-old baby who is still nursing and his wife's about to die. He has to find a wet nurse to feed this baby.
Which is just mind-blowing because, the forethought to be thinking about the fact that, how am I going to feed my baby after my wife's dead?
I'm not feeding this baby. I'm not buying extra formula.
That's just expensive, yo.
Oh, God, it's so dark.
Although I feel like a wet nurse would be more expensive.
Yeah. Well, but, that's somebody he could possibly bang.
Ew.
That's how this guy works. So I think that search is definitely what sealed his fate.
Pretty fucking damning.
Why else would you need a wet nurse? And yet it still took the jury 3 days to find him guilty of 2 counts of attempted murder and a lesser offense of endangering life by damaging the gas supply system in his home. The judge sentences him to life, which nothing like it is here. He'll have to serve at least 18 years.
It's a very short life.
So he was sentenced in June of 2018, and Vicky was still standing by him. And as of the airing of this documentary, she was still standing by him. However, at some point over the years, she finally snapped out of it. She eventually asked for a divorce, which, as far as I know, he has not granted.
Which, what the fuck? You were trying to murder her. The least you could do is divorce her.
Doesn't matter. He has to have that hold on her. August 2020, she released a book titled I Survived, I Married a Charming Man. Then He Tried to Kill Me, A True Story. Yeah, it just gets right to the point. It's a long title, but you know what it's going to be about. Last I saw of the tabloids, she's with a new man who she had met at the same parachute club. That's where all these people just meet, is parachute clubs.
It's a tight-knit group, I'm telling you.
He's a handsome dude, and from the pictures I've seen of them, they look very happy together. But yeah, I'm glad she finally realized what a monster Emil was. And she still goes parachuting.
That's brave. But at least he's not there to sabotage it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it was an interesting documentary.
It was a short one too.
Yeah.
So it was like 40 minutes or something.
Yeah, well, it was still when I was like recovering from COVID. I was like, I need something just short to work on.
Yeah, just like, and it was interesting. I enjoyed it.
It was an interesting case that they're telling her, hey, this guy is trying to kill you, and she's just like, no, I don't think so.
No, I don't think. Yeah, no, it was somebody else maybe.
It was crazy. But yeah, that's just, so even if she wants to go and marry somebody else, she can't, because he refuses to grant her a divorce.
I feel like there has to be a way to make that happen. Like, he tried to murder her. He's in prison for trying to murder her.
The government should have just automatically given a divorce. Like,
yeah.
not even ask her.
Yeah,
like you'll figure it out.
Yeah, like, you guys are both divorce. Like, you can't like try and murder someone and also still get to be married to them.
Like, I had heard she kind of started to, when the judge was given the sentence and he was talking about like how he's a horrible person, that was kind of when she started, was like,
oh,
okay,
shit.
this guy is a judge and he's seeing this. Maybe I'm not seeing the right thing. And
yeah, like, maybe I'm blinded
and then
by his
him in
ugly ass
prison,
love.
and, yeah, the way he was just treating her when she'd go and visit him. She finally was like, yeah, you tried to kill me. I want a divorce. And he was like, no.
Yeah, I feel like that should be against the law. Like,
yeah.
that's not ethical.
Yeah, she's still perishing. That's insane.
She's a brave woman.
But I mean, the chances of both shoots fucking up again, like, that's gotta be not possible. And yeah, when, I forgot to mention, when the cops were like interviewing and stuff, he's like, well, maybe she tried to do like that one other guy did and tried to kill herself. Like, no, I don't think so. She had no reason. She just had that baby.
Yeah, like, seems kind of sus.
But yeah, he knew about that story and was like, well, maybe this is why she did it and it wasn't me.
It's like,
that's
maybe you got the idea because of this guy and you were like, I can kill her this way since the gas leak didn't work.
But yeah, piece of shit.
Yeah, he's the worst.
I hope they keep him in jail as long as they possibly can.
What a bastard.
6 kids.
Ew.
I couldn't believe. That's gonna do it for this week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Doc to Me. The opening music is by Twisterium. For comments or suggestions, we can be reached by email at doctomepod@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at doctomepod and find a link to our Facebook group in the show notes. Thank you.